You're listening to the Sea of Dragons podcast by XFL Endzone. Welcome to our premiere episode of the Sea of Dragons podcast, appropriately titled Maiden Voyage. I'm your host, Brandon Main, and we've got an exciting first show. I'll be speaking with Anthony Johnson Sr., aka The Gut. Anthony is an XFL 2020 draft pick of our beloved Seattle Dragons. He's a young, very talented defensive lineman that you're going to want to get to know, so hang tight for that. We will also be joined by 2019 Arena Bowl champion and rookie sensation defensive back TEVIN Homer. After winning the AFL trophy with the Albany Empire, he has recently signed with the Massachusetts Pirates of the National Arena League. I personally have had the pleasure of scouting his 2019 AFL games, and we regard him as one of the top available players for future XFL consideration. So we'll have a quick, insightful chat with TEVIN as well. And be sure to stick around. We'll be closing out our maiden voyage with Doc the Lion and Max SLUG as they drop an old-school 206 beat, Breathing Fire, an ode to the Dragons with a fantastic anthem for XFL Seattle. But first, I want to take a few moments to explain how we became XFL Endzone and why we stepped into the Sea of Dragons. And that truly began in 1976. My family has been, and still are, original Seattle Seahawks season ticket holders since day one. My wonderful Aunt Judy and Uncle Joe managed and operated a Seahawker bus for decades from the Grace Harbor chapter. So naturally, we grew up in the kingdom. My brother, my father, and I watched Jim Zorn sling the ball to Steve Largent and many others for years. The classic Seahawks, they were our guys. And Kenny Easley, Hall of Famer, was and is my all-time favorite player. And I have an 8x10 autograph photo to prove it that I received in the second grade. So, when we heard that Seattle would have an XFL 2020 franchise, we were all ears. And then, it was announced that Jim Zorn was crowned both head coach and GM for the first time in his professional coaching career. We absolutely loved the addition of Tony Softly and believe the entire staff is an exciting and seasoned group. In fact, the XFL and Commissioner Oliver Luck have done a phenomenal job preparing for and rolling out XFL 2020. We've got the team names, logos, schedules, draft, uniforms, helmets, mini camps, and now training camp in Houston. Kickoff 2020 is about to happen. Once the regular season begins in February, we will be rolling out weekly shows. But in the meantime, we're planning a preseason and kickoff special that will be loaded with new content, such as our new All 8 segment, as we begin to focus on all the XFL franchises. And I'm absolutely fired up for all 8 teams. So, welcome into the Sea of Dragons as we podcast to you from the great Pacific Northwest, nestled in between the majestic Olympic Mountains and the ancient waters of the Pacific Ocean. Alright, this is the first edition of what will be one of our primary and reoccurring segments, The Dragons Keep. This is where we'll discuss everything Seattle Dragons. Now, just in case you're not a nerd or didn't grow up playing Dungeons and Dragons, a keep refers to a fortified tower within the walls of a medieval castle. It's the core stronghold of the kingdom. So there's a fun fact for your imagination. With that said, I'd like to welcome our first ever guest onto the show, Anthony Johnson Sr. He's a tenacious defensive lineman, 6'3", 279 pounds, and a member of the Seattle Dragons. Anthony, how are you doing today?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, no problem. It's our pleasure. So right out of the gate, we got to know, what did you think of those brand new Seattle Dragon uniforms?
Oh, man, they were amazing. I think everybody was excited to see them. There was a little bit of sneak peeks here and there, but, when we finally seen the reveal, everybody went crazy. I mean, I love them, especially the helmets. So
What did it feel like to put on your helmet for the first time?
Oh, man, it was just a good feeling. This was my first fall that I've missed playing football in, 19, 20 years. So, I was just excited to be able to be back on the field and strapping on that helmet again.
Now that the team has had a chance to work together, through the first team meeting, throughout mini camp, and into the final practices, what has this experience been like for you?
It's been a great experience. Coach Lopez, our defensive coordinator, he has a great mind. He has a great scheme. And everybody's bought into it. Just being around the guys that I'm around, and just a lot of those guys having, these 4, 5, 6 years in the pros, just being able to listen to them and listen to the different kind of technique things that they, tell me and help me to improve my game is great, man. I love picking at people's brains and doing whatever it takes to help my game. So,
can you tell us a little bit about what kind of influence Coach Lopez is having on you?
He's a great guy, man. Between him and Coach Don Johnson, our defensive line coach, they're always pushing me. They've been pushing me this whole time and telling me the things that, they expect from me and the things that I need to do. Like I said, Coach Lopez has a great scheme. I'm just excited to see what the future holds.
How did it feel getting back out onto the field and rushing the passer again?
It felt good, man. But it's just like riding a bike, honestly. I haven't been out for too long. The last time I was on a helmet was back in May with Tampa Bay for mini camp. But, it just felt good being back on the field, being back in that atmosphere. It was crazy how in just these 2 weeks, how close everybody came together so quick.
That's great to hear. Are there certain details in your game that you have been working on most lately?
Yeah, definitely. My footwork in my run game and also in the pass game, but definitely in the run game is something that I've been trying to focus on and just trying to perfect that. So if I'd say anything, it would just be, my technique and just working on my steps.
Having both quarterbacks, Brandon Silvers and B.J. Daniels, to practice against, is it safe to say those guys present a little shiftiness in the pocket?
Oh, yeah, man. They're great. They're both great quarterbacks. Both of them have great arms. Both of them are extremely mobile in the pocket.
I bet. I want us to shift gears now to something that is personal to you off the field. Tell us about your charity, the Gut Foundation, that you've been creating.
The Gut Foundation is going to focus on working with at-risk kids. Out here where I'm from, there's a lot of nothing to do around here, and so a lot of these kids resort to just doing the wrong things. They try to find things to do, but it's the wrong things that they're trying to do. So thank you to my trainer, Kareem Birch. He actually started his own, because I live about 45 minutes from Jacksonville. Okay. So I train with him and everything, but he started his own football organization. We were a youth travel team, 13 to 14-year-olds. And, just working with those kids, it really opened up my eyes to see the kind of struggles that they were going through. At that point, I kind of felt that my next calling was to be working with these kids. Back here at home, I go to the middle schools, I go to the elementary schools, the high school. And, I try to talk to as many kids as I can. I just feel like every kid should have the same opportunity that I have. Mm-hmm. Or had, to where you have something to fall on. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just, trying to work my hardest to get this foundation up and going.
That sounds excellent. And you are a father, so what does it mean to you to help children in this world, especially those youth that are at risk?
I wasn't really an at-risk youth kid growing up. I was in a couple bad things here and there, but, when football kind of caught on and my parents looked at me and said, listen, football's going to take you where you want to go. But with me being a father, I think that's where the passion for helping these kids comes from, honestly, because I look at my son every day and I couldn't imagine abandoning him or not being there for him or not doing the things that I know I could do for him. When I look at these kids, a lot of these kids don't have that father figure. A lot of these kids look up to me. A lot of my players who I coach, they call me the time, asking me for advice, just wanting to talk, wanting to vent. And that's the things that I love doing for these kids. So,
wow, that's good stuff. Anthony, in a very short period of time, you have gone from Florida International to the Tampa Bay Bucks minicamp, through the XFL Summer Showcase, and now to the Seattle Dragons. What are you focused on as we transition into training camp in Houston?
Honestly, I'm just focused on making sure that, I'm continuing to have progress. Like I said earlier, I just need to continue to focus on the little details and fixing my run game, and honestly just doing everything that I can do to help this team out. Whether that's playing whatever position on the D-line, that's what it'll be.
Who are a few of these veteran players on the defensive line that are helping you with the details and coaching you along?
Big Will, is that guy that I go to. Stanley Mopunga is another one of those guys who kind of, every time we could be in the film room watching film, and Stanley sits behind me and he'll just tap me on my shoulder and say, "Hey, look, how you did this? It's good that you did this, but if you do it this way, it'll be even better." So like I said, it's just, having those guys around, it already elevates my game.
That's one thing that I noticed in the XFL draft. The Dragons are going to have very strong veteran leadership on this defense.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like I said, we have so much experience on our defense. That's what I think is so great about this defense because, everybody knows something. So if, you got a guy like me who's fresh out of college, who's fresh out of a minicamp, and all these other things, a guy like me who still has so much room to grow. And, it doesn't matter how many years you spend in the league. Everybody has room to grow. But like a guy like me coming straight out, I still have a long way to go in my game. But, having those guys around has already elevated my game.
That's very cool to hear. Okay, final question. What message would you like to send out to all XFL and Seattle Dragon fans this year?
Man, just be excited for this team. We're all excited to be in Seattle. We're all excited to get everything rolling in training camp. Don't be afraid to reach out to us. A lot of us love being out in the community and, breathe fire.
Absolutely. Well, Anthony, it has been wonderful having you on for our premiere episode, and we wish you all the best in 2020. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed my time here. Hope to be back on soon again.
Awesome. Sounds good. And go Dragons.
Yes, sir.
Well, there you go. Anthony Johnson Sr. He's definitely an exciting young man that you should keep your eyes on. Earlier this past summer, we did a profile on him. His work just jumps off the game tape, and he's only getting better. You can find Anthony on social media. Follow him on Twitter at TheGut91 or on Instagram, TheGut91. Our next segment is the XFL Player Profile. For those of you who followed us on Twitter at XFL_Endzone throughout 2019, then you're familiar with our series that highlights professional athletes as they journey further ahead into their pro careers. We will be connecting with players and having quick chats so you can get to know some of our favorite up-and-coming athletes that we feel are ready and waiting for their XFL opportunity. Our next guest is TEVIN Homer. This past August, TEVIN played in the AFL as a rookie with the Albany Empire. He was second team All-Arena. His stats were loaded, and he proved to be a fantastic playmaker. In Arena Bowl 32, he led the Albany defense with 11 tackles as they went on to beat the Philadelphia Soul 45-27. Please welcome defensive back TEVIN Homer. TEVIN, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. We had the pleasure of watching your entire AFL season. How fun was it to be part of the Albany championship team?
It was really fun. We bonded together as a team, came in April, and just kept fighting every week, get the championship.
What specific veteran teammates had an impact on you as a rookie?
I think pretty much everybody did. All the vets really. Terrence Moore was a big influence on me. He helped me out a lot, how to play things, just how to feel things out. So a bunch of players did.
That's one thing really unique for listeners that don't watch a lot of Arena. You guys get left on an island and in isolation quite a bit in the Arena, don't you?
Yeah, definitely a lot more probably than the outdoor game is.
Mm-hmm. What has that brought to your game, do you think?
I think it teaches you a lot. You know how to be more instinctual. You gotta just feel things out a lot more. You gotta know when to slow yourself down. Sometimes you gotta know when to speed it up. Just gotta see how your guys moving. It teaches you a lot. Gets you way better at man coverage, I feel like, also. Does
that remind you of playing in the front yard as a kid with fewer people and in a smaller space?
I don't think it reminds me of anything like football, really, actually. I feel like it's a lot different than...
It's just super unique.
Yeah.
Were there certain offensive players that influenced how you went about preparing, both mentally and physically, for the 50-yard game?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's in practice when we came across that. Like, all our receivers, I feel like we had mostly the best receivers in the game. Malachi, we had Quentin, we had different body types, different route runners.
So you got a lot of good reps in practice.
Yeah, like every single day.
So let's transition that then with your coaches. Who on the coaching staff really kind of pushed you and taught you and elevated your game?
I feel like every coach did, really. Coach Keith definitely helped me out a lot coming in as a rookie. Taught me everything, pretty much to football.
You just signed with the Pirates of the NAL, which is a great stepping stone to the XFL or even perhaps back to the NFL. What are you doing on a daily basis to stay game ready?
I'm just working out every single day, go on my trainer every single day. We go work out. We bring a bunch of the kids around here too, and Nice. They just come out and come work with us.
If you were to evaluate your skill set, what would you say are some of your strongest traits as a player?
I feel like my length, physicality, everything. My instincts is very versatile. I can do a lot of things.
I was definitely going to say your instincts. That's one thing that jumps off not only watching you, but also going back and watching your tape and checking your reads and stuff like that. Your instincts, you don't hesitate. There's a lot of just reaction to the ball, and you definitely have a nose for the ball. Do you have a favorite aspect of defense? Do you like to make a really big hit or a tight pass deflection? Is there an aspect that is your favorite?
I like to score.
You like to score? Yeah, nice. And you did that a few times this year.
Yeah, I want to get pick six. I like turnovers and touchdowns.
Your brother Travis is a rookie for the Seattle Seahawks. Do you still work out and train together?
Yeah, definitely. Whenever he comes down here, we always work out. All the guys we play football with, like we grew up playing football with too, who are still playing, we all working out.
So one thing about growing up with and playing with brothers, you get to know their game very well. Are you guys still awfully competitive with each other?
We don't really go up against each other a lot. Mostly what we do is just do like our own separate drills.
And what do you think Travis has learned playing against you?
I think when we were growing up a lot, he learned how to be more physical. We would always try to bully him when he was younger than us.
And what are some of the challenges in facing your brother?
Real physical. He got speed also, he's pretty fast. Probably got to step on me now.
That's excellent. Well, Tevin, it has been a pleasure getting to know you as a player, and we wish you all the best in 2020, and thank you so very much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, take care. That's Tevin Homer. If you'd like to follow him on social media, you can find him on Twitter at TevinHomer3 or on Instagram, TevinHomer37. I want to thank all you listeners for tuning in and supporting our premiere episode. We will be back after training camp with episode 2, our preseason special. Stay tuned for that. Also, a very special thank you again to both our guests, Anthony Johnson Sr. and Tevin Homer, for hopping on and kicking off this journey with us. And now we're closing out the show in style, with a burning hot beat and the West Coast sound of Doc the Lion and Max SLUG. Here's Breathing Fire.
Doc the Lion.
Breathing fire. Breathing fire. Breathing fire. Breathing fire. Breathing fire. Breathing fire. It's the almighty dragon spitting flames to the field, make another team submit. In the backfield, running back LeVon Coleman. Wheel touchdown, he's a real deal showman. Defense knock him out like the old George Foreman. Crowd going wild, championship is the slogan. K. Will, Fred Ross down the field open. Match on DBs, leave them stiff and frozen. Seattle Dragon breathe the fire, yeah, they focus. Other teams wishing and hoping, trying to play with our emotion. We keep it poppin' with the magic potion. They gon' keep it truckin' like a locomotive. Tomahawk jam, yeah, that's the motive. Wham, bam, 7 teams gon' scram. The XFL recharge program. Breathing fire, 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 breathing. Oh yeah, fire. All town, all team, no stress. We breathing fire, baby. Doc and Max love take you higher, baby. To the beach, y'all. Out your seat, y'all. T-Town heat, y'all. Ain't got that dragon on your helmet, we gon' beat y'all. Then bring it right to your city and defeat y'all. No outlaw down by law, cause I'm pulling the draw. Best crowd of air game, the game of us all. Give it to you with no trivia. I stand and deliver ya. Seattle Dragons, win the chip, fellowship ring, Bill Baggins. 206 in the mix, me, I'm laughing. Doc and Mac, rap attack is back, start packing. Stadium packed in for the shellacking. I ain't bragging, but I'm about them dragons, man. Breathing fire, 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 breathing fire.
Thank you for listening to Sea of Dragons, XFL Endzone 2020.